It's 7 a.m. right now. My roommate is asleep. Hopefully I don't wake them up. I've been up all night recording a completely different video. They just dropped a crazy Shadow Generations trailer. I did watch a little bit of it because my excitement got the better of me and I can't control myself when new Sonic stuff releases, but I didn't get a good look on it. It was like a blur. I blacked out for a sec. This is the Doom Powers trailer.
Something calls to me. We meet again, Shadow the Hedgehog.
I like how that's the one Black Doom soundbite they have available. It's so interesting how this totem here looks like it's inspired by some of the time gates in original Generations, and it looks like we kind of see like a little castle in the back, which feeds into my theory that I think this might be Soliana, this hub world.
Meet again, Shadow
The Doom Eye on the statue. It breaks it like an egg, like a Black Arm's egg. Also, the animation is such a step up from Frontiers, like the expression, that's a brand new render just for the Doom Spears, which is, I guess this is the explanation for why he can essentially use Chaos Control without a Chaos Emerald. Like, they're just saying it's a Doom power, you know? Like, instead of Chaos Spear, it's Doom Spear, right? And he's just going insane with it like an anime character. Like, no longer are the days of 2010, Sonic is for kids. The coolest thing you'll see Sonic related in the store today is a toothbrush. You know, we're done with that. This is the shonen anime it was always meant to be. What's this level? Is this the inside of the pyramid in SA2? It looks like things are under construction, and I have a good feeling that we are going to get information on why there was a rocket in the pyramid that leads to the Ark. That's what I think this might be. You can kind of see like the outside, it's nighttime. You see the shot of the moon, which is something that you actually see in that SA2 area as well. The Doom Spear even has like some kind of logo in the back. Oh, that's cool. In the background here, when he's going crazy and flinging it all around, you can actually see the Space Colony Ark version of the hub. It's got the Ark itself with the Gerald face. It's got platforms everywhere, just like the original Generations hub, except it's, you know, in full 3D for the open zone. That's so cool that we get a look at what those look like out in the field. Those look like Black Doom soldiers with a weird like cyberspace effect on them. Oh, that animation looks so cool. It's like they're doing a lunging jump. Gives me like elite Halo vibes. And he just eviscerates all three of them with the Doom Spears. I love that you can see too that there's a branching path up there. You just jump on the broken pillar and then there's a pipe section in there. What level is this? What could this possibly be? Also raw pose on Shadow there. I feel like I'm not getting enough information visually here. This could also just be the pyramid again. I was 1,000,000% expecting this game to just be like, oh yeah, you get the gun robots, SA2, and then we got like the 06 mechs, which made me think like, huh, they're willing to like recreate those hyper-realistic mechs that don't fall in line with anything in the current canon. That's interesting. And the artificial chaos as well had me thinking like, it's interesting that they're willing to do that, even though it's just, you know, even though they're trying to appease the SA2 fan base. And the whole time that we've been getting information for this game, I'm thinking to myself, like, it's interesting that there aren't any Black Arms around, but I'm not surprised. I feel like this is definitely cashing in more so on the SA2 fan base and the Shadow the Hedgehog fan base. But no, like, we're getting Black Arms, which is not something that I should be too surprised about, but with how weirdly Sega's been operating things, I'm surprised about it. This looks like a daytime variant of Central City, which is actually cool that we're returning to Central City in a modern 3D game, because Central City actually has quite a bit of lore relevance. It's almost implied that Radical Highway happened on Central City. In the IDW comics, that's like the main city that they go to when things happen. That's where Surge and Whisper fought. So it's cool to see it in a 3D environment with lots of realistic textures and stuff. Again, I think that's the inside of the pyramid. This is really funny. Doom Blast. I think this is literally just a copy-paste of Sonic Boom from Frontiers. It's literally the exact same effect and the animation. Okay, that animation is too raw. This looks like something that you'd see out of like a Dragon Ball fighting game. Like you get like 4 frames to react to him lunging at you from his powering up stoic position here. He's sitting there in the shadows and then just insta lunges at you. And then boom, 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 no chance to react. Oh, you know what? So yeah, he's totally gonna have a skill tree like Sonic does in Frontiers. I accurately predicted that as well. This combo right here looks like the punching kick into flip combo he does in Sonic 06 when he homing attacks into an enemy. There was like 4 amazing poses in that animation right there, by the way, and I'm sure if you frame by frame his little combo, you'll get more. Like, that just looks like a hyper exaggerated version of his 06 combo. And then look at this, we get another Black Arm variant to beat on. Dude, what the hell? The Black Arms actually look like Nightmare Fuel in this game. They're so veiny and muscular. Look at those long ass claws. Actually, this looks like something I would see out of Predator. That's Nightmare nightmare fuel. I just love the juxtaposition of cartoony, stylized Hedgehog with the mono eye because he's a big-ass cartoon, and then you just have nightmare fuel alien. Shadow's like 3 feet tall in comparison, but he can beat his ass. It's just so good too, this imagery of this top secret government operation going on inside of like an ancient pyramid replica, and then on the inside you see these nightmare fuel aliens invading. Like, what are they covering up? This is some insane conspiracy shit. That's exactly what makes Shadow so interesting. This move is interesting because it looks like Sonic Boom visually, like it shares some of the animations and effects, but he does it way faster, and it actually looks like a melee move more than a projectile. And then he gets like this uppercut kick to finish it, and then you can follow up with a Chaos Snap. Part of me actually kind of hopes that these enemies are damage sponges so that we can see Shadow the Hedgehog combo videos akin to the Knuckles, Tails, Amy, Sonic videos we see for Frontiers. And like, this shot is just so cool. The way we get this hyper-realistic nightmare fuel veiny alien in the back, you just have regular Buzz Bomber from like Forces. Oh, and this part just like blew my mind. I don't know why they did this. I have no idea why they did this, what this means. How does this even fit into Generations at all? I don't understand. Are they screwing with the timeline again? Or are they going into the future because it's a game about time travel? Are they somehow breaking the timeline and going into the future? I don't know. Why is Chaos Island here? And we know it's Chaos Island, not just because it's a volcano. Look at the pulley. Look at the spring. It's blue and purple like Frontiers. It's just the same location with new added platforming segments. And by the way, what a cool transition. Beating up on that alien in the pyramid, and then you transition to Chaos Island? Like, oh dude, and the special effects are just so good. It's this mix between black goopy smoke from the aliens and like hot red fire from Shadow, because that was his aura back in SA2. And he's got the after effects and everything. And then like, this is so interesting to me. Like, you have Black Arms Alien from Shadow the Hedgehog, and in the back you have the mass-produced Egg Pawn from Sonic Forces. Like, that's just so interesting to me that they're using the models from Sonic Forces. They even went back and made like brand new Egg Pawn models for Shadow Generations that like have proper illumination and different animations. And it's so interesting that they have the Heroes variant Egg Pawn and then the Forces variant Egg Pawn. And like, people didn't really like Forces, obviously. I didn't see very many people praising the Badnik designs in Forces either, so I just think it's really interesting that they're willing to take things from future games after Generations. Is this not just Kingdom Valley? I don't know. Like, obviously it's like not the same colors, but the fact that you can break a castle wall? Like, that's just Kingdom Valley. This is like the remnants of Soliana Castletown before it became like ruined and old. I swear. Yeah, and then we just transitioned to the Kingdom Valley we know and love from 06. And by the way, in the back there, you actually see the 06 mechs. So it's just so cool, the variety of enemies in this game. It's way better than the original Generations. Original Generations had Egg Pawn, Egg Flyer, Choppers, Buzz Bombers, Moto Bugs, Egg Pawn, Egg Fighter. That's kind of it. That's amazing. It is so interesting. But Shadow reusing the Frontiers air parry animation, that's funny actually. But this is so interesting to me, the way that it's almost implied that Shadow can knock them away in different directions, akin to Sonic's punch kick finisher combo in Frontiers, where depending on the direction you're holding, he'll kick the enemy in a different direction, and then you can follow up with a combo. You can shoot him up, you can shoot him to the side, you can shoot him straight down with the eagle kick. So it looks like the exact same thing for Shadow there. Why does he have an octopus? Why does he have an octopus? I don't know, he's just going Splatoon mode. By the way, yeah, hello Frontiers again, for some reason. Okay, so like, he's going through this purple goop, which leads me to believe this isn't Mephiles like I thought it was. And this is, you know, just more Black Arm stuff, which is fine. But like, this is so interesting. Like, you can see this very distinct ancient rock style that we know from Frontiers with like the glowy purple surface and then purple and blue springs. Purple and blue platforms. The exact Death Egg robot from Forces that was present in Frontiers. The story was that Eggman arrived on that Death Egg robot to Chaos Island, and then it got broken down by like one of the Titans or something. And it's interesting to me too, how instead of those like basic ass metal platforms we saw in Frontiers, these are actually made out of the ancient stone and materials. It's like they almost saw the reimagined platforms mod in Frontiers and took some inspiration. But that's just so cool to me. Like, my favorite locale on all of Chaos Island is where we see the broken down Death Egg robot, because it shows you the power of the ancients. Oh, that's interesting. What is that? Like, you get to like Spider-Man fling with the octopus form. That looks like the special stage at Superstars. Oh, that's so interesting. Like, all of these locations I'm seeing directly from Chaos Island and Frontiers, these are locations you can find in the open zone, but they're like remixed to have new/different platforming segments. This spot is basically like the side of one of the giant buildings, I think. And this spot is inside the temple, which was actually quite barren in Frontiers. It's interesting that they added a much larger 2D platforming segment, because in Frontiers this segment was just like jump over spikes and hit balloons. And they even added like new background details, like lava coming out of some of those platforms in the back, which again wasn't a thing in the Frontiers version. This is actually kind of interesting to me now, because maybe they can mix some elements from the older version of the Starfall Islands before Sonic and his friends came by. Maybe that's why lava's coming out of there. Obviously the Death Egg robot is there, so it's kind of confusing, but maybe. This is so interesting. Like, these are all the materials in Ancient Stone from Frontiers, but it's being used to make new level design assets. And then of course the Doom Wing, which is like probably the coolest one. Like, it's so insane how in the first animation we saw, it looks like he's actually in pain when he powers up with the Doom Wing. It's also interesting to me too, just the big focus they have on animation for Shadow Gens, because Frontiers had some good animations and some good moments, but a lot of the animations in that game were pretty stiff, and you could tell it was probably because of budget and time constraints. I don't think there's very many moments in the Frontiers cutscenes or QTEs where you can pause and be like, yeah, that's an amazing pose. Like, there's a handful of moments. I love Frontiers. There's a handful of moments for sure. Honestly, not as many as I'm seeing in the Shadow Generations trailers on their own. What a slick transition from the front-facing view to his behind view into gameplay. What is that advertisement on the side? Are we getting a return of like that reference-heavy advertisements in original generations? That looks like it might be an ad for Shadow's Dark Rider. Yeah, it's like a black and red motorcycle and it says Doom Ride. That's fun. It's interesting too because him with the Doom Wings looks an awful lot like his paraglider in 06. Also, amazing detail with these gun flyers here. They have like heat-seeking lasers coming out of their sensors. Beyond another world? What does that mean? Why is Shadow on a billboard? Is that Black Doom like screwing with him on purpose? Also, baller-ass tornadoes. That just looks cool. This is funny. This is funny as hell. Welcome back to Surf's Up on the Wii, baby. We're going Mario Galaxy 2 Stingray mode with this. It even looks like the Stingray. And this is f***ed up. This is f***ed up for a variety of reasons. HD Metal Overlord. He looks like a dragon more than ever. He's got razor sharp blades all over him. He's got a variety of attacks now that the animation budget is a lot bigger. Are we fighting him up in the skies like in Heroes? No. We're fighting him in the spaceport from Sonic Forces. The snowy chemical plant looking area from Sonic Forces. It's kind of insane to me that we haven't seen like a super upgraded badass version of Metal Sonic in HD with next gen animations at all. This is the first time we're ever getting something like that, which is mind-boggling to me. And it just happens to be Metal Overlord specifically. And it's insane too, like the implication that Shadow, all these years later after Heroes, can just solo this thing. Even though he couldn't solo it in IDW, but whatever, you know? I was already sold on this game, just kind of believing that it was gonna be like maybe a 5 or 6 level pack with a cute little Shadow story, you know, maybe some platforming segments in the open world, you know, maybe he has a really simplified version of Frontiers combat on par with like Knuckles. Get some cute new music remixes. This is weird. It's like, why are we in Frontiers and Forces? And like, these powers actually look like really realized mechanics. And the animation budget is crazy. Like, I'm gonna snap the moment they drop a story trailer. This part's interesting. It looks like Bryce's City mixed with Central City. Something I'd love to see. They won't do it because they're terrified. One thing I'd love to see are the Gaia monsters from Sonic Unleashed. I know it doesn't make sense in the context of Shadow, but if we're going back and we're returning enemies, it would be cool to see the Black Arms and the Gaia monsters in the same game. They won't do it because they're terrified, but man, would that be sweet. What is that big looking guy right there? Is that just a straight up mini boss from Shadow the Hedgehog? I don't recognize that guy right away, but I know vaguely what that is. If anything, I definitely want lots of focus on Shadow 05 references. I think that game is the most overdue for some recognition after all these years. Because people always talked about like how cringe it was, but if you listen to anybody nowadays, the only thing they can talk about is how cool that game is and how they need to make a sequel to it. Well, here you go. This is interesting. These look like 06 dash rings, and then on the left there is like a Fortnite chest or something. That doesn't look like any kind of collectible box we've seen before. This is such an interesting battle mechanic too. You know, just like dodging his attacks and homing attacking into him. You like have to use the Doom power and then like shoot things at him from the water, like fallen cargo. There's so many details in this game compared to like the last decade of Sonic games. I'm completely shell-shocked that this game looks like it has more put into it than Frontiers, and I'm saying that as somebody that loves Frontiers, will defend it every day of the week, and has nearly 500 hours in it. This game has the production value and the marketing that Frontiers deserved, but here's the thing, I'm not mad. I'm happy that Shadow gets to return after not being utilized for an entire decade, and they're putting all of this into it. And my favorite part is that every time a Sonic movie releases, there are a bunch of people that haven't really been into Sonic before, and, you know, especially kids that get to have their introduction to the franchise, and, you know, they're gonna think to themselves, like, oh, where should I start with the franchise? And it's like, Generations is such a good place to start if you are a casual fan. Usually I'm like, oh yeah, just play the originals, you'll really appreciate what they do in Generations, like, probably 2 times more than if you start with Generations. But if you are, like, a kid or a casual, starting with Generations is gonna blow your mind with all the cool ideas mishmashed together on top of just genuinely great gameplay. It's such a surefire way to get people into the franchise. And like, when I was a kid, I had Secret Rings and Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Those were my games, and that was enough to sell me for my entire life. So imagine what happens when you have a game that's like 20 times better than Secret Rings. Oh yeah, and by the way, that's not even counting like the whole ass anime they're making to promote this game. Dark Beginnings, several episodes long, has Emerald in it, by the way. By the way, Emerald's totally gonna be the second playable character that was teased on the Japanese website. It doesn't make sense that they would leave crucial marketing of a second additional character if it wasn't someone niche like Emerald. By the way, one last thing. Have you seen this man before? Have you seen him? More importantly, has Sega seen this man before? Can we see him again? Can we see him again? Sega, have you seen this man? Do you know who this is? Can we get him in the game? Please?